I'm Amanda Knox.
And I'm Christopher Robinson.
And this
is Who's Right? Between our usual Labyrinth episodes, we sit down to debate something quite serious.
Or silly.
And ask you, who is right?
It's me.
It's me.
It's me.
It's clearly me.
No, definitely me.
It's me.
Me?
No, me.
It's me.
How could it be anyone but me?
Says the man sleeping on the couch. Brought to you by...
Well, we need to do that for Brew Doctor, but we don't have any Brew Doctors.
We don't have any in the house?
No.
We already drank all the Brew Doctors? Because they're so good? We would totally be holding up a Brew Doctor right now because we actually reached out to Brew Doctor.
You'll have to imagine it's a notional Brew Doctor.
It's a notional Brew Doctor because they actually responded when we said we would love to do a partnership and share our love of
We're
Brew
drinking
Doctor.
your kombucha anyway.
On screen. So what's up? And they sent us a bunch of coupons for free kombucha. So now when we drank them all.
So anyway.
Mountain
Ginger.
Yeah, the Lemon Grove. I really like that one.
So
anyway, brought to you by Brew Doctor Kombucha. Thank you very much. Now I am going to sound like a complete Nazi.
You're going to agree with me on this one. I'm just telling you ahead of time before you even know what the topic is. I'm right, and you're going to agree with me.
And I'm okay.
You know you're wrong.
I know I'm wrong. But let me just share my anxiety about this with you for a second and try to argue that games are whack. Which is like such a Nazi thing to say. Like, who would ever argue that games are a waste
Specifically,
of your time?
Video games, I think, is the prime area we're going to talk about today, but we're going to broaden out to involve other kinds of games as well.
So look, I know I'm wrong. And yet, like, I can't. So I have my old Game Boy, right? I used to play video games. Like I carried that thing everywhere with me.
And what did you play?
Mostly Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, is just a weird video game. Like, I loved Pokemon, but ultimately it's cockfighting. That's it's just like adorable cockfighting. And I feel bad. I have such a deep ingrained love of Pokemon because it came into my life when I was around the same age as I was when I got into Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of my earliest entrances into anime. But it's cockfighting. It's just you capture little animals that are living their best lives in the wild. and then you
train them.
And then you hold them in these keep them in these tiny little balls that you carry around with you. And then the only time you let them out is when you want them to fight each other. It's just horrible. It's just a horrible concept. And I feel very conflicted about sharing my love of Pokemon with Eureka because is she going to grow up thinking that it's okay to just capture animals and make them fight against their will? In the Pokemon world, they make it seem like the Pokemon want to do this or they're naturally inclined to do this, but it's just cockfighting.
I mean, that's what they said about slaves, about human slaves.
Yeah, it's horrible.
They're naturally inclined.
Yeah.
They want to. Right?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
It's a lie.
It's a lie, and Pokemon is evil, as it turns out.
Free the Pokemon.
Which... I wonder, there have been so many iterations of Pokemon. I'm going on a Pokemon tangent here for a second.
Yes, you are.
But
I'm here for it.
Yes. There have been so many iterations of Pokemon. I wonder if there is a free the Pokemon iteration. Because they have
like
Pokemon
a Pokemon,
in Hawaii,
something that subverts the whole Pokemon idea.
Yes, or at least a character in the Pokemon world who is trying to take who's the PETA of Pokemon.
Mm.
Where's that? I am here
Yeah.
for a PETA of Pokemon.
Yeah. Are you officially pitching this to
I'm
the
officially,
IP holders of Pokemon?
I'm officially pitching this, and I want to be on board. If you're going to do a live action version of it, I will be the PETA of Pokemon.
Yeah. Okay. You going to write the script?
I'll have to write the script. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the to-do list. But in the meantime, I'm going to argue for why I always feel guilty. So I go on a lot of planes, and every time I go on a plane, when I'm packing, I'm so tempted to bring my Game Boy. And I always tell myself, no, I have books to read and emails to write and things to do. And I think ultimately, I have in my head this idea that gaming is zoning out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I'm allowed. I judge myself when I zone out. But why do I judge myself when I zone out gaming as opposed to, I mean, I guess I judge myself if I scroll through Instagram too.
Is it any different to, watch a movie on the plane?
Well,
that's zoning out too,
isn't it? The difference is that movies are storytelling, and people are going to argue gaming is storytelling. Depends on the game. Again,
let's step back a minute. This all came up for us because
yes.
because
came up
because I saw a little, imitation Tamagotchi toy that Eureka found, and she was playing with it as if she could press the buttons, which she couldn't. It was not a real one.
Yeah, it was like a fake keychain version.
That looked like an old, and if you don't remember what this is, this was a Japanese fad. It was a tiny little electronic device. It was a fad while
I was in high school. Yeah. Everyone had them, and you just sort of press a button to feed the little creature, which is the Tamagotchi. You feed it. That's all you do. It's literally there, and it's crying for your attention so that you will push a button.
It's a little it's a little dopamine cycle thing that's just like a little beep happens, and you're in the middle of class or whatever you are, and you have to be like, oh, I got to feed my Tamagotchi,
and then it goes.
You hit the button. Yeah,
and it's just.
They became a little more complicated than that. Didn't they have to like sleep and other things? Like I thought there were like 3 buttons at least. Anyway, I thought, maybe we should get Eureka a Tamagotchi. And Amanda was immediately...
Absolutely not. We are not getting our child a little, we're not introducing our not even 4-year-old to pushing button equals dopamine hit. No, wrong, bad. And you don't have that. I had a very strong, visceral response to
I mean,
that.
you're talking to the guy who used to play video games competitively. A lot of you out there probably don't know that.
Yes, so Chris used to be, you know what? I'll hand it to you. You guys made your own hats.
Oh, yeah.
You had visors.
And we made our own visors. That's how cool we were.
Visors. Why are visors, just by definition, so much lamer than hats?
Maybe because it's not committing.
Not committing one way or the other. Honestly, it makes sense for women who have long hair. But why is the visor on a man just so stupid?
It's a little bit like cargo shorts.
Again, you're not committing.
Well, it's like cargo shorts actually
just get a purse.
They have a function, right? It's like, you don't want to be hot with pants, and you need to carry stuff. Makes sense. Cargo shorts. Hat is like, block the sun, keep your head warm. Visor is, head's too hot, but block the sun. Right? Makes sense. Again, it's on that utilitarian level. It makes sense. Just like a cargo kilt makes sense. And they make those too.
Ugh, I'm disgusted.
But there's something just aesthetically about it that feels like it's a foot in 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is off topic.
Yes. Again, this is going to be a good off topic. Who's right? Competitive video game player where you pretended like it was actually doing something.
Well, I don't know. It was my version of sports at the time, and my buddies and I we were in various leagues. We played a game called Counter-Strike, and
all your friends are going to hate me after this. Who's right?
I know. And I was at this time I was a computer engineering student, And I kind of dropped out of college for a little while to play video games because that was more fun than going to class. And,
I feel like you're making my argument.
Well, but eventually I wound up being the love of your life. So,
it's true.
You know,
you weren't gaming at the. You know what? I think I've just realized why I don't like gaming now. Actually, if we're going to really dig into the psychology of it. Well, actually, no. This is not the why.
Boyfriend ignoring you to play video games?
Yes. Yes. And then had the nerve to break up with me after I was like hanging out during his like Halo gaming time, trying to be
some college
supportive.
boyfriend?
Not college. This was a high school.
Oh, high school.
This is high school, which or do high schools. We never even like kissed. We held hands and went out on a few dinners. But like I was supportive of him in his Halo playing, and he had the nerve to break up with me.
That's where it all comes from. We found the root. I charged $300 an hour for this,
Great.
Uncovering your traumas.
Okay, so what do you feel that gaming has done for you?
So yeah, I mean, I suppose I should say I didn't just start playing video games in college. Like I was a Nintendo kid, right? I was playing a lot of video games from about as young as you could.
Me too. I was playing Mario Kart, and I was before even Mario Kart, I was doing just Nintendo Super Mario.
Before the Nintendo Entertainment System, my dad had I think it was called an Intellivision.
Oh God, you
never even heard of that?
No, I love how like there's so much that I don't know just because of our 5-year age difference.
Yeah.
Like so much happened in those 5 years.
Right, and this is a same era as like early Atari systems.
Okay.
Right, a little joystick and crummy little games that you play on your TV. It was like one of the very first home video game systems.
Right.
Right, and my dad thought it was sort of a curiosity because he grew up, playing like Pac-Man and like Pong in bars.
Right.
He then had a job and kids, and he didn't have time for video games,
Right.
But he introduced me to that, and then I, of course, as a kid, had all the time in the world for video games, and he was fine with it, probably because it kept me quiet.
Yeah.
Which I think is another one of the reasons why you feel bad about it.
Yes. I have bad mom guilt at the idea of just sticking my daughter in front. Like
But as soon as she can read, if you see her, and even now, even when Eureka can't read, sometimes she'll sit there flipping through books and you walk by and you have this pleasant little smile like, I'm such a good mom.
Yeah, I do. Yes. When she's flipping through a book, you've seen my pleasant little smile?
Yes.
It's that obvious. Whenever she's alone reading a book, I'm just like,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you already anticipated this, that there's the whole games do have storytelling and all this other stuff, right? Some games do. But like some games, you're just playing Tetris or something, right? Let's talk about the games where you're just manipulating, objects
in space.
Yeah, you're doing Candy Crush, right?
Ugh.
Right? I know.
Ugh.
Right? And like, for me, playing a game like Tetris is a little bit equivalent to doing something like playing with a Rubik's Cube.
Maybe I don't like the idea of but it doesn't make any sense because I love the idea of books sort of like taking over your brain for a little while and you just get sucked into a book.
Mhm.
Like I really like that.
You get sucked into a story.
Right, you get sucked into a story, but I've gotten sucked into books
into
also because
ideas.
of how ideas
Yeah.
and language even.
Hmm.
And so, but like in my brain, I keep thinking I just don't love the idea of a person fixated on a screen, just sort of like mindlessly gumming.
I mean, maybe the way in for you is to talk about the kinds of zone out games that you actually enjoy. Like you like to play Wordle. You like to play the New York Times games like Connections and stuff like that.
Yeah, but those aren't zoning out, really. Those
Aren't
are
they?
zoning in. I have to solve a puzzle. I like solving puzzles, but I don't think most games are solving puzzles. Like Pokemon, to go back to Pokemon, there's technically strategy in that you choose to do an electric Pokemon against a water Pokemon, But
Okay.
like,
All right, hold on. I think there's a combo here. Here's the thing you're missing. There's a combination of strategy. That's one thing games can do. There's also just the mastery of some sort of physical skill. And the physicality of it is done with your thumbs, right? It's like thumb-eye coordination, right?
maybe I'm rolling at my eyes at the idea that you could be like that is
Well,
a coordinate. Like I wouldn't call that a physical skill, is what I would say.
what else? It's not a mental skill.
I mean, but here's the other thing. Like I recognize that some people are better at playing video games than others.
Have you enjoyed juggling a soccer ball
Yes.
over 100 times, or what was your record?
I don't know what my record was. It wasn't like over 100. It was, like 50 or something like that.
Yeah, but like that's a thing that you just zone out doing, and you're just practicing a sort of skill that has dividends for your soccer playing.
Yes.
Sure, right? But
it also gets me moving, keeps me physically fit.
Okay. So there's some benefits that like playing, Super Meat Boy or Mega Man or like take like a platformer. Those are called platformers, right? In video game world.
Oh my God. I didn't know what I was getting
yeah.
into when
And a platformer,
I suggested this one.
she brought this topic up.
I brought this one up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, now I'm going to get all categorical about it.
A platformer is a 2D scrolling game,
Super
usually,
Mario Brothers.
right? And you jump from platform to platform, and sometimes you have to encounter bad guys and defeat
and bonk
them.
them on the head, yes.
And so those kind of games sometimes have a story. Usually the story is pretty thin, if there is a story element.
Indeed.
And mostly the game is about, one, like the sort of atmosphere of the game. There's music, there's art. It might be fun to like zone out into that atmosphere and that world. Two, it's the hand-eye coordination thing. It's like trying to play that little game where you throw the ball up into the cup. It's like getting really good at like jumping exactly as far as you need to jump and dodging this blade and all that stuff, right?
But like the actual doing that you're doing is you're coordinating what you're seeing with your eyes with like
little minute movements
micro
of your fingers.
movements of your fingers.
Right. Which is what surgeons do.
Oh, I see. So now we're preparing Eureka to be a surgeon by getting her a Tamagotchi. Is that right? Sure.
And then then on top of that, there's a strategy element of like how exactly, and that's puzzle solving, which is like a lot of those platformers are like, how do I tackle this level? How do I defeat this boss?
Yes.
Right? So,
but some of them, a lot of them are gruesome for the sake of gruesomeness.
Sure, but you could say the same thing about movies or books.
For some reason, I'm just less offended when it's a book because at least there's the art. I mean, guess people could say there's the art of the gore. I don't know. I feel like I don't have any legs to stand on, and yet I still feel this strong like prejudice against video games. I can't explain it because all of the reasons why I find fault in it are reasons why you could find fault in anything else.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Is it the screen thing? Is that a big part of it?
I think it's the screen thing. I think it's the sedentary nature of it.
But that's true
also,
of books.
Books, or you can be sedentary. Like
you're usually sedentary.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I used to walk with a book. Like you can do audiobooks, but that's not even like.
Yeah, I used to walk and read a lot.
I used to walk and read a lot
too.
In
fact, a good buddy of mine and I we tried to come up with the longest single syllable word we could. The most English letters in a word. Right?
Sure.
And we decided that this word we needed a novel concept. So it was walking while reading was the concept.
I see. Okay, so what is the word?
The word is strom.
Okay, spell it.
STROUGHAM. which is based on like an old British spelling of like Brougham, like Brome.
Yeah.
It looks like Broham, but yeah. Strom. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've done
a lot of stroming.
I've done a lot of reading while driving, which is very dangerous and not a good thing to do.
Never came up with a word for that.
Because we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't sanction it. But like, and so here I am seeing, Eureka sitting down reading a book, and I think, yay. But if she were doing that, if she were sitting down and poking at a Tamagotchi, I would be despairing.
I mean,
what is wrong with me?
Maybe you're not seeing the potential benefits. One benefit is that we live in an increasingly digital world, and so much of your day and my day, and it will be even more true for our children's days, will be occupied navigating digital environments, whether that's to create art, or to connect with coworkers or whatever it is, right?
Whatever.
And like just familiarizing yourself with interfaces is valuable, I think. Or you go off the grid and live in the woods.
And sucks your soul away. And you should be spending any of your free time doing the opposite of what you have to do for your whatever functioning life. Like,
look, I mean, I get it. I'm with you. We send our daughter to forest preschool, and she doesn't do anything there except play outside in the woods. And we say like, well, she's outside.
Yes, that's outside.
That we're winning. She's outside, and that means we're winning as parents, right? I'm with you on that, right? And if we were sending her to video game school where she played video games all day, I too would probably be like, I don't know if our 3-year-old needs to be doing that.
Yes.
And yet when I wasn't 3, but when I was 6, 7, somewhere around that age is when I really got into video games. And
can I tell you what I am pro video games for?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I am pro video games as alternatives to school.
Okay.
So using video games
as educational
tools.
You're talking about like Oregon Trail or Carmen Sandiego. What's your example of this?
Well, I don't know. I need to do more research on this. But like there are absolutely video games out there, I am sure, that in the process of playing the game, you learn math. Or in the process of playing the game...
Making games sound lame.
Dude, there are lots of ways you can learn math by... I mean, I'm not going to have you... Like, it's not... I mean, I'm wondering if like, I'm thinking Counter-Strike. How do you turn Counter-Strike into... But again, like, I think that if we're going to get into the world of allowing our kids to play games, I want something to come from it. In the same way that I want something to come from it for when they're, watch TV. Like I've tried to make it so that all TV time for Eureka and Echo was in a foreign language because I thought at least they're learning another language.
Yeah.
So I think
there's not a value in just living in a story.
Well, but here's the thing. I think that we do have zero-sum amounts of time and attention for things. And if you can get more bang for your buck, like, I would much rather her have fun learning math than just sitting there doing endless math equations on a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
So if she can have fun playing like if I can give her 30 minutes of playing a video game every day that I know is teaching her math and she has fun and that's like her special video game time, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I hear you. And, we can also, single out things where it's like, oh, well, there's, this game is renowned for its artful story and beautiful artwork, right?
Sure. Oh, well, here's another reason why I find I'm maybe prejudiced against video games, and maybe you can reassure me about this, is that I tend to associate video games with social isolation. Like, I had a cousin who would just like at all family parties would just disappear into the basement to play video games while we're all hanging out upstairs. And that's like what I associate with video games. And some people argue that, I mean, you had a whole video game troupe.
My whole social life for a period there centered around video games. Not only would I meet up with my friends online to play the game together, but we would meet up in person to do LAN parties on weekends.
It's the in-personness that
that's less common now because back then internet connections weren't strong enough, fast enough to facilitate playing video games that way.
Now your whole social world could just be online, and that's something that I don't have access to. Like as a mom, to like have your kids be playing in the backyard together where you can sort of watch them.
I've done a bit of that. I've played World of Warcraft for a while. I know people who are still deeply invested in those spaces.
You brought up World of Warcraft. I'm thinking about like a friend of mine in college who, like, in the early years of college, instead of going out, and being an idiot and drinking with all of us, he would be in his room playing World of Warcraft. And like, I tried to get sort of interested in it so that I could like be friends with him. But ultimately it was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to leave you alone in your dark dorm room.
Yeah.
Like.
And it's, as much as people will say like,
isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
I was a girl trying to talk to him.
Know.
And he was just like, nope, World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I'm afraid of.
I remember this time when I had some friends who were like, come out to the bar with us. As my roommates.
Yeah.
Come out to the bar. And I was sitting there with like a bottle of red wine playing World of Warcraft.
Alone. Like, that is so sad.
And they're like, what, are you just going to drink a bottle of wine and play Warcraft? And I'm like, what, I'm just going to drink with you out at the bar? How is this any different, You
have an opportunity to meet someone at the bar.
I knew what was going to happen if I went to the bar. I'd look over at a girl I wasn't going to talk to and talk about how I might talk to her and then not, and then go home alone. End up how I started. Let's cut out the middle part. Fill it with Warcraft.
So sad. So sad.
And the thing
Tell me that's not sad. I'm not wrong. Maybe I'm winning the argument this time.
And the thing is, like, you do develop friendships with people on those massively multiplayer games. You do meet up with people. There are people that exist in this place for you where you only know that person through gaming. Then there's the people that, like, in real life, but, like, your lives are busy and you don't live in the same cities, but you end up staying in touch through gaming. But oftentimes you're also sitting there killing low-level gremlins over and over again to grind your way up to the next level.
Right.
It's like that you're about to go to this big boss encounter in this next area, but you really want to be level 67 before you get there.
Oh my God, I've done this
And in
with
order
Pokemon
to be
a
level
million
60,
times.
kill the easy bad guys over and over.
Yes,
yeah.
And in Pokemon, the way that you do that is you take your Pikachu and you fight a bunch of Pidgeys.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you're just wasting your life.
Yeah.
Murdering Pidgeys. And it's like, what are you doing? What are we doing?
Is that different than Candy Crush? And this is why I want to keep bringing it back to this, like, the zoning out kind of, like, it doesn't have, a beautiful story. It's not teaching you math. It's just occupying your brain because you don't want to be alone with your thoughts. I think that's how you think about this when you see someone on the bus.
But also you're like, it absorbs you so much that you stop paying attention to things that you should be paying attention to. Like, I've had the experience of seeing parents on Candy Crush instead of hanging out with their kid. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what is this? Is this a drug? Is it a drug?
It's a drug, yeah.
Because I don't feel like books are drugs in the way that I feel that video games are drugs.
Books are just not very good drugs.
Books are...
As a writer of books and an owner of many books and lover of books.
We just had to put up more bookshelves.
We just added new bookshelves to our house because we ran out of room on our other bookshelf.
We're really addicted to this really not very potent drug, which makes me feel like books are the weed of the 70s.
Yeah, books are 70s weed. You can read a whole book.
And, like, not lose your mind.
Yeah, totally.
But you take one toke of a Candy Crush and you are naked in the street blathering nonsense.
Drug technology has literally become more potent. Like, it's the ability to alter our minds with smaller doses of things has improved with various drugs. And I think with entertainment, that dopamine cycle of, like, find the thing that stimulates a little neurochemical reward. Like, we've gotten better and better and better at that through algorithms and through just big data and just huge amounts of people doing this, to the point where things like TikTok perfect it in a...
Yeah.
I
get it. I mean, to me, this sounds like I just won the argument and we should all dare not to do...
Well, I
games.
think I want to try to defend... Candy Crush. What am I saying?
What are you doing? Why have you taken this position?
Because a little bit for me that impulse to, like, I need to step away from my day and like put my mind into Candy Crush for 5 minutes. Like I get that impulse. And sometimes that's like, for me, I pick up a Rubik's Cube and like,
I mean, that's
I
a
want to
fine
play with this
impulse if
Rubik's
you can,
Cube,
if
you know?
that's a fine impulse if you can do heroin for 5 minutes and then walk away.
Well, I'm not
But
doing
like,
Rubik's Cube right now. I have had periods, though, when you've been like, hello, put down the Rubik's Cube.
I am your wife.
Here I am, naked, and put down the Rubik's Cube. Thinking about that Rubik's Cube upstairs now. Yeah. But you do this. I mean, you do it with Instagram. I see you like, and you feel guilty about it, but doesn't a part of you like, I mean, should you be meditating? Is that what you should be doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, so here's the difference is sometimes I am trapped with an unconscious child on me. It
could just meditate.
It's true. In those moments, I could just meditate. And I should. And I will.
Yeah.
Yes. So there.
Oh. You're not going to delete Instagram off your phone, though.
No, I have to use it for work. But like, I should spend less time on Instagram. We already talked about this with the Instagram, you know, the whole social media, who's right.
I just feel like someone let's bring it back to the plane for a minute. You're reading your book, someone else is watching a movie, someone else has their video game, someone else is doing a Sudoku. And like the argument in favor of Sudoku is like it sharpens your mind, you know, like, right? Do you think that candy crushing sharpens your mind?
No, I feel like it dulls your mind. Am I
Does
wrong?
Rubik's Cubing sharpen your mind?
Well, the way that I've learned about Rubik's Cube is that you just learn the pattern and then you just repeat the pattern over and over again. So maybe in the way that like killing 1,000,000 Pidgeys in Pokemon dulls your mind. Like
it's like spatial rotation and geometry stuff, and it's also pattern recognition and repetition. But like, unless you're a super expert, and probably this holds true, and we should talk to some Rubik's Cube expert. But for me, I only know so many algorithms to manipulate the cube, and so on any given solve of a Rubik's Cube, I end up in a place where I'm like, how exactly do I get it here?
Okay, fine. It sounds more, you know? I've never really encountered Rubik's Cubes. I know that, like, I got addicted to playing Pokemon when I was a kid. And all these years later, even knowing how just, like, mind-numbing of a game it is, I still have an itch to play it.
You think that's like a heroin itch is what you think?
I have like a little monkey on my shoulder, and I don't like it.
That's why you don't want to give Eureka a Tamagotchi.
I do not want to give Eureka a Tamagotchi. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I'm drawing the line. Am I wrong, people? Am I? I feel like I went in feeling really like I was going to lose this who's right, but I feel like I'm winning now. So am I wrong? Am I so wrong? And I know Chris's friends are all going to hate me now. I really hope. I really like your friends.
They're not. But I think maybe the value that we haven't quite hit upon here is that it's okay and perhaps even good to sometimes shut your brain down in the way that you do when you're playing Tetris or when you're playing Pokemon. And you would argue that the better, more healthy way to shut the thinking self down, the self that's always like, am I too fat? Oh, I need to go to the grocery store.
Or I'm just the work has not turned off.
Yeah, right. Meditating is really the good way to do that.
Yes, meditating is a good way. Even doing mindless chores is a good way. Going for a walk is a good way.
But also, come on, can't spare people a little dopamine?
No dopamine to spare.
You know, I mean, even like tuning into a podcast conversation in some ways is like, I don't want to be in my day of thoughts and whatever my daily concerns are, and I want to just live in someone else's conversation for a minute.
I put that in the same sort of world as reading a book because it's idea space. You're sort of
so if you're listening
passively...
to this, you're a good person.
Yes. I don't
Amanda
feel bad
is smiling,
about
self-satisfied. The fact that you're listening.
In the way that I would approvingly nod at my daughter who is reading a book. Yes.
All right. Well, I think we have to turn it over to the audience
Yeah,
here.
I think we do. Am I wrong? I feel like I'm wrong, but also I feel like I'm right. I actually don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either anymore. I kind of went into this assuming that I was just totally right this time. But yeah, I mean,
But you know what I'm
I
talking
know what you're
about.
talking about, and I also am the book person who has a daughter in forest school. So,
Yeah.
But I can't deny that Rubik's Cube video game side of myself, and I don't feel like it made me a worse person. I don't play the piano now.
Yeah, you could have been playing piano.
But conversely, I can pick up a video game and still be pretty decent at it.
I don't feel like that's really cool. I don't feel like the value
As
of
cool as a visor, or
Exactly. All right. You can find us at amandaknox.com and on Instagram, if you're still on that, at Amama Knox.
At MC Carbon.
And on Bluesky at amandaknox.com.
At wisecracker.bsky.social.
All right, thanks, everyone.
If you have any thoughts or ideas for things we should disagree about, please send them our way. Till next time.
Till next time.